Clark has a debut to remember. Ricky bangs again, and the big man stocks are dwindling. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you on Monday for the review show here in Backchat Studios. And joining me on the couch is Jesse. Hello, mate.
Good to be back on a Monday, and you're getting better at these each week, the intros.
I've had 9 seasons of practice by now, so you'd hope I'm nailing them.
Yeah, coming into the prime. That's usually 8th, 9th season as a footballer is when you hit your prime and you're getting there. Yeah,
I'm hoping to hit free agency and move to another podcast, I reckon. That's probably my goal from here. Take a big money offer, maybe go to GWS podcast or something with one listener. James, hello, on the couch.
Hello, Rob. Yeah, you are getting better at them, but just before we started, you did have one of those Essendon socks over the microphone, so it looks all professional now, but that was a bit of a worry before. Yeah, we were testing out whether or not the Essendon sock, despite looking good for YouTube, was going to affect the audio, and I listened to it and I was like, it's a little bit muffled, so the professional in me was like, look, I know it'd look great for a gag, I think I'll refrain. And I'll maybe just, maybe I'll just wear it in my hand and I'll do a sock puppet throughout the show, depending on how weird we get. Fellas, set update. Of course, that's what people tune in for, is just to see how the set is evolving week to week. Got some new things. Got a bit going on. The central hook on the wall has fallen once more because of another podcast, but Old Gold is taking centre place, which we love. We've got some scarves hanging up now, and I'm starting my badge collection. So to James's left there, you'll see the great Jake Kelly and James Stewart, two men who I would love to be available this week, fellas. If you're free and you want to don the Sash for another week, we could certainly use you. But there's a really cool piece there behind James from Adam, and I've forgotten the origin story of it. But like for people listening. It's a wooden shield with Essendon sort of carved into it and a plane carved into it, which we love. And Adam's written on the back of it, and he wrote a little poem, which I think I should share before we start.
Of course he did.
Because that is...
We enjoy those.
We love a bit of Don's poetry, as you guys know. So it says on the back, "My grandpa weeps for 84. Dad still thinks we'll win one more. I've known despair since I was 10. And yet I say, this year again." So we love that from Adam.
That's really good.
That's a prime piece to add to the set, which we absolutely love. And of course, a bit of Don's poetry, which is certainly the theme of the show. Jake Carlisle, a record I found at the Knock Shop, sitting below him. Don't need to speak much about him. I just thought it was James is dropping his computer.
James through me completely rattled.
I was at a Knock Shop over the weekend. Just killing some time and just wandered over the book section. They had some AFL records there, and I was like, AFL records, 50 cents a pop. What do they got? And I flipped through. There was a Jake Carlisle, a Michael Hurley, which we'll see another week, and then the seatbelt. Do you remember we wore the sash with the seatbelt on it? That one's there as well. So those will all make their way up onto the set at some stage, which is a bit of fun. But fellas, we're not here to talk about random Don's memorabilia, as much as that'd be great.
We do have one extra piece of memorabilia that
we do.
Special that has been missed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is the 2013 Yukon Award won by Joe Watson, which has been generously gifted just for a one night only to be here.
Is it the one night only?
It's just a one night stand.
Wow. Sleeping with us tonight.
Yeah. So I'm the missus is out of the bed tonight, and I'm going to go to bed with that. I'm just on the couch.
Make sure you wear the Sash sock.
The Sash sock, just for protection. But very very grateful to have that here tonight. And I figured, obviously, after Dream Time, it was a suitable reason to bring it in. Pulled some strings, and that's here just one night only. One night only, so that's pretty cool. Gents, there was a game of football on the weekend. We beat the Richmond Football Club in a very... What is the word I want to use?
Dour,
tepid. I was thinking it was an almost flat atmosphere at the MCG for those who attended. I think it was two supporter bases who knew where things stood in regard to their club. A Richmond fan base who would have gotten up and about if they'd won, but an Essendon fan base who went, look, we're a better team, we should win, but we won, and more players got injured. And that kind of, again, sours a win, I guess is the theme. James?
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. We sort of went away from that game not feeling all that ecstatic, and I think the injuries played a big part in that, but also the way we played. I think it was a real opportunity to bounce back after the Bulldogs' disappointment, and whilst you obviously got the win and it sort of blew out late, it certainly didn't feel like at any stage it was comfortable, and Richmond had a number of key outs in terms of their senior leaders, one of those being obviously Nane Curvis, who I think would have had a field day, with all respect to old Goldie if he did play, and then just our ball use was just horrible for the majority of that game, and really with Richmond coming off a 5-day break, they probably just ran out of legs towards the end. I don't think we really turned it around at all in terms of playing really well. I think they just ran out of legs and we got over the top of them late.
Yep. Jesse, how did you see it, mate?
The curse continues. The burial ground is back, doing its thing, doing its best work. We've got a post-game injury in Ben Mackay. Burial ground struck the foot of Ben Mackay as he took one step onto the hangar surface today.
I think it did actually happen on Friday, but yeah, we learned of it today.
Yeah, correct. Well, I think he was only aware of it today when he actually stood back onto the hangar.
Right.
Same as Kyle, and I'm pretty sure Reid did strain his hammy a little more as he stepped onto the hangar surface. But, I mean, the skill execution is a big concern, and I'm sitting in a position of not understanding whether or not it's an experience, recruitment, Essendon issue. But part of me believes that skill execution and skill is practice, is it not? I mean, you can have natural ability, but being good at something requires practice.
Yes, just ask Alan Iverson. He'll tell you it's about the practice.
Why do we not just get the players kicking balls into bins?
Into bins, yeah.
Okay. Or something. Yeah. Can we just forget everything else?
I think they train. I don't
but
go
forget strategy, because whatever they're training, you can't even see what they're doing. Yeah. They're running away from each other. They're running into each other. Where are the forwards? You're not in the forward line. No. You're in the midfield. It doesn't make any sense. So whatever they're training as a system doesn't make sense. So forget the system. Let's just get back to learning Oz kick. Yeah. Let's go back down to Oz kick and just handball and learn how to kick. Let's start right. Strip it right back.
Let's strip it right back.
Straight to hot takes.
We're starting with hot takes.
I'm serious about it though. We need to get the skills better, guys.
I'll see you down at training tomorrow with some bins.
I'm got a megaphone down at training tomorrow.
I don't think it's this is nowhere near a hot take whatsoever, but there's just something about, cool nights at the G and our skills just disappear. Like I feel like there's almost such a nuffy thing to say, but I'm like, would they benefit from rocking up to training at 7:00 on a fucking Tuesday night and doing a night session? Like, would that benefit? Because my understanding is most trainings happen during the day. That's when the press conferences are. That's when you go down. That's when they do signings. Like, would it actually benefit to just go, hey, boys, don't come in at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever. Be here at 6 p.m. and we're going to train in night conditions? Because it just always feels that way, that cold nights at the G, there's some of our players who usually are clean and then they're just not. And then the ones who can be a bit rough are even rougher. And the teams who play at the G a lot are a lot more used to it. Your Richmonds, your Melbournes, your Collingwoods.
Any team that doesn't actually have like a roof even at their training
Geelong
session.
In particular, because they play down the Cattery where it's even colder, they just seem more natural. I don't know what it is.
I think you do know what it is. You've just said it yourself. Yeah. Let's get training sessions back at night.
I
like that.
Tuesday, Thursday.
Let's not read the winner afterwards. We're stripping it back. No, so we're starting Oz Kick Saturday training morning sessions for the next 3 weeks, and then we're going to build into Tuesday, Thursday nights.
Yeah.
Go back up to under 16s.
Yeah, all right. Cafeteria, team on the whiteboard at the end of training. Meet Trey.
Yes.
You know, like the old clubbies will be down there having a chat.
Yeah.
You know, the bloke who always just rocked up at training that never played a game will be there.
Yeah.
You know, just good. Let's bring the Amos vibes back.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, lots of strapping going on.
Lots of strapping
just
going that,
on.
Like that reek of deep heat when you walk in the club rooms. You're like, what is...
And footballs that look like volleyballs.
Yeah. Can I say, this is so random. I was walking up to Smith Street today to do something, and there was a ute parked, and it just had a lot of shit in the back of it, and I just sort of like was looking in the shit, and just in the midst of all this rubble was just like a really nice worn Sharon, like, you know, like
cracked leather.
Yeah, like a fresh Sharon looks shit, but a worn Sharon that's seen a good few winters, and like, I don't know, it just seems to grip really well in your hands.
Yeah, talk dirty to me.
Yeah, just a good Sharon. I was like, that's what footy's about.
Yeah,
because footy's like that, not these bright new yellow things.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of that.
Those pointy things that hurt your feet to kick with.
Yeah.
I want something soft that's been caressed for years.
Oh my God. Should we talk about the game? I mean, I feel like you guys don't want to.
No.
We're just going in some weird areas to start.
I don't
the
think
show.
anyone wants to talk about that game, but we have to.
We do have to. All right. There's some goods to talk about. There's obviously a couple of players who I think are deserving of a good shout out. And I'll start with the debutant, Mr. Angus Clarke, who lit the world on fire in that first half, kicking 3 snags, played really clever, some good marks, got on the end of it, and just how good. 3 on debut, probably the most we've seen since Nic Martins debuted with 5, but we won, which is more important than 5 goals on debut. And yeah, like there was quite a few people who communicate with the page pretty regularly, and they might get down to training a bit, or they're, avid VFL watchers. And I've had a few people in the DMs who have been like, Rob, Angus Clarke, look out for him. He's one of the ones. There's another guy we'll talk about in a minute. But they were like, yeah, he's one to watch out for. Like, I really rate him. And I was like, cool, really keen to see him at AFL level. And NAB Rising Star, is it still NAB? Or the Rising Star, whichever sponsor it is, not sponsoring our show. So who
Did
cares?
he get nominated?
He got nominated today.
That's huge. So 3
on
for
debut,
the year?
that's 3 for the year. Cads, Archie Roberts, and who's firming as a favourite, mind you, and Angus Clarke. So
and Zach Johnson next week.
And Zach Johnson will be debuting on Thursday.
So if you can put money on who the next round's Rising Star is, I reckon, is there a tote on that? Because if there is, put $100 on that.
I'll have to reactivate my betting. I might
responsibly.
Yeah, I'll have to reactivate my betting account to do that if that's a possibility. But back to Angus Clarke, how good, and also James, I know you're our country correspondent. Yeah. How good seeing a country lad show his Aussie colours post game.
Yeah, I was excited to talk about Gussie Clarke, not so much about what he did on the field, but the very funny interview that he had with his entire family there in the rooms. And my favourite kind of interaction there was someone saying that his dad got quite emotional when he called him and let him know he was playing his first game, and Angus said the only reason why he was getting emotional because he knew he'd lost one of his farm workers and he'd have to leave. So it was a good laugh, and if you haven't had a look, definitely jump on 7plus or whatever it is and run that one back and have a laugh. Obviously the 3 goals, but what I liked was that he covered the 4th most Ks on the ground. So he had 15.8, which was second only behind Dersma for our side as well. So finally 2 wingmen that can cover the ground both ways. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can produce for the rest of the year, because yeah, it's hard to see him kind of getting pushed back out. Yeah, definitely. Obviously with Sardell Hawley going down with an injury as well in the VFL. Obviously Harry Jones probably got a bit of time before he can get back into the side, and Nick Cox will, we can talk about it a bit later, but he's obviously got some real troubles with his concussion. Like, there really isn't any more wingmen available. I know, Jesse wants to put Laverty on the wing, but we kind of need him as fullback at the moment. So
I've changed my vote on that.
Yeah.
I've come to understand his ball use, and yeah.
But back to fullback. Great story. Jesse, you've got a good for me that you'd like to share.
I mean, Nic Martins, it's hard to go past the man. We brought him up, and I mean, when you look at Angus Clark's game and the 3 goals that he kicked, it does make you think back to Nic Martins' debut. And I mean, to have over 32 disposals or something ridiculous and 5 goals in your debut, I mean, that's just absolutely unheard of. And we've been waiting for him to have a game like he did over the weekend for quite some time. He hasn't really shown that level, which we know he's capable of achieving this year, and he was just elite. I mean, that volley goal was insane, and that flicker as well. I mean, he's got absolute techers.
The little Gaelic vibe.
He's got full techers, but other than that, I mean, he's just pinpoint accuracy. He didn't really miss a pass. His decision making was elite. He was cutting angles with his kicking. Really, him and Durham were the only players all day. A bit of merit as well. That
he was. And you know what? He was playing in the midfield. Wasn't playing on the wing. Wasn't playing.
He had a lot of centre bounce.
He was playing as a midfielder, and obviously the big asset to Nic is the fact that he can be moved around depending on what we need, and obviously with more defenders going out, we might see him come to halfback potentially this weekend. But with a performance like that, it's very hard to go, geez, like, should we keep him there regularly? Like, it's great to be flexible, but yeah, played as a midfielder. He was the highest rated player in the AFL this week, beating Ed Richards from the Doggies, who came second. So yeah, he's a real asset to have. I remember speaking...
Suck a big one. Red nut. Yeah. Ed Richards.
He's a gun.
He's a shit.
I hate him.
Yeah.
because he's not at the Dons.
Yeah, come to Essendon, please. You're really good. I can't remember which pod I said that on, but we were speaking about him maybe last year or the year before, and like very different player. But you think about what Sean Burgoyne was to Hawthorn in the fact that it was just he was someone they could just put places depending on the week to week and what they needed. That's what Nic Martins is to us. And it is just such a good asset to have. It's like, all right, we need someone to go forward. He goes forward. We need, someone who can win the ball off half back and use it. We need someone in the middle. We can need someone in the wing. Like, it's a shame you can't play full back, but really, he can go anywhere, which is just such a luxury to have. Now we just need more guys who can do that, really.
Yeah, the midfield integration is something we saw in the preseason over the past couple of years. Didn't really see it at all last year. There was a few supporters, people commentating in the socials about him not being moved at all throughout the year into that role. And the weekend was really the first that we did see of him in that position. And on that topic, there was another player that we saw attend quite a few centre bounces who we haven't regularly, and that was Archie Perkins. And mind you, his ball use was quite questionable at times. He actually did have quite a good game. He had 6 clearances, 8 ground ball gets, 25 disposals and a goal. And it's pretty clear to me that he is someone that is best utilised in the middle, and I do see his future.
Interesting, because I think it's forward, personally.
I see the second half of his career playing through the midfield for us. Probably more that high half forward midfield role, but getting those centre bounce tendencies is something that helped him get into the game over the weekend. And if he did have cleaner ball use, which you do normally see, and you'll give him a pass because his ball use is usually electric. If he had applied that element to his game over the weekend, we'd all be saying it was one of the best games that he's played in his career for the club. So, yeah, I mean, I know there's probably a lot of people that may not have had that thought on Arch over the weekend, but you might need to re-look at the stats, because I think there was a lot of the dirty work that he did that went unnoticed over the weekend, which you don't necessarily always recognise him for. So,
yeah,
bit of a left of field one there for me.
Yeah, I think the thing with Perko in terms of his midfield time is I can definitely see him coming in for centre bounces and then just pushing forward, and we're seeing that quite a fair bit in the AFL at the moment. Cozzy Pickett, perfect example of it on the weekend, kick 5, but had
it's the stringer
mid-20s. Yeah, the stringer role, come in for the centre bounce and then do the swap straight away. Whether he can run out a full game on ball and be accountable, that's probably the question. Nic Martin had 8 tackles on the weekend, so he's showing that you put him in there, he'll get the ball, he'll hit the scoreboard, but he does the dirty work as well.
Bangs.
Can Perko do that? I'm not sure. He bangs.
Yeah, so Perko, I'll go into some stats, not usually something we do here, but anyway, so Perkins had attended 32% of centre bounces over the weekend.
Perkins, 32%.
30%. Previous weeks, he's had 19, 35, 18, 17. In round 2 against the Crows, he had 49%, which is the most he's had. Setterfield wasn't playing. And Setterfield, generally speaking, has the biggest share of the mids, along with Merritt. But now that Caldwell's back, that's sort of shifting a little bit as well. But yeah, no, it's a fair point you raise. You got a good for me, James?
There's a few names here I've got. I'll pick out Duz. I thought he was huge for us. 12 score involvements. I feel like every time he gets the ball, something good happens. And doesn't feel like any of his touches are easy ones either. He's always doing the hard yards. Hit the scoreboard again. I just love watching him continue to go about it, and obviously alongside his mate Jai Caldwell, who had a really good game as well. I thought they set the tone in there. Also allowed Merritt to go to half back, sort of second half of the game, where I thought he was really dominant as well. So, some nice midfield depth there. Probably the only depth we have at the moment. And obviously a bit of a selection squeeze. We saw Hobbs as the sub on the weekend, so we probably went in with kind of one too many midfielders, but with our injuries at the moment, we're probably going to have to play small and try and dominate through the midfield. And obviously they got on top towards the end of the game, as you'd expect, with Richmond coming off a 5-day break. But yeah, loving what Duz is doing and continuing to do. Yeah,
he's just a real X factor. There was a very, very chirpy Richmond supporter sitting a couple of rows behind Joel and I, and there was a couple of times where I heard him basically be like, "Oh, you should be playing for us," when Duz was doing good things, and I was like, that feels
it's a compliment.
Nice. That feels nice. Like, I'm not used to hearing opposition supporters say that.
But he's right, because Duz is not embodying an Essendon footballer. He's much more like a Richmond footballer with the way that he plays.
Yeah, but we love it. I got a question for you guys. I was thinking about this a bit post-game. Now, it's very clear who Essendon's best player is at the club. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. Who is Essendon's second best player? Because I think there's plenty of discussion as to who that may be. And you can factor in as many variables as you want about, availability and injury troubles and reliability, all that kind of stuff. Who do you genuinely think is Essendon's number 2 player in the team?
I don't think there is a number 2. I think there's an equal number 2, and that's Duz and Nic Martin. Okay. I think they're right on par. The stats would say Nic Martin is the better second player, but I believe that Duz should have been best on over the weekend. That I was not surprised that Martin didn't get it, but when the game was on the line, Duz took control of the game for us, and that was in between it was that phase within the second and the third quarter when Richmond started getting on top of us, and every time they did, Duz got the ball out of stoppage, won a crucial play. And that, for me, the reason why I think that Duz is a better player, it may not be that his skill level is as good, and it may not be his positioning is as good as Martin, but it's the moral element to what he helps the team with, just in his drive and his endeavour, what his attack on the footy, how he helps the team emotionally, I think is one of the reasons that I have him up there at that level. So for me,
sounds like it's Duz.
It's hard to say. I can't actually split them. They're both very even for me.
Very politician's answer. James, do you have an answer?
It's definitely between those two. No question about that for me. I think externally Martin's probably rated higher than Durham. I think we as Essendon supporters probably see a lot of the stuff that Duz does that maybe goes a little bit unnoticed externally, whereas I think Martin's certainly made a name for himself now, and I think if you ask all of the other clubs, they would probably say Martin. I'm pretty biased towards Duz because I love the way he goes about it, the boy from Seymour. But at the moment, I'd say Nic Martin, but Duz pretty close behind him. And if he continues to play this way, there's not much of a gap.
Interesting.
What about you?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's obviously a fair bit of recency bias to this. I am leaning towards Nic, but again, it's not by much. If he hadn't been coming off a bit of an injury layover, I reckon Jai Caldwell's probably in the conversation. Like, he's definitely
He was the second best player in the first 3 or 4
yeah,
rounds.
like he's definitely like top 5 at the club for mine.
He was poorly over the weekend, though.
And then who fills out that rest? Like, Ridley's obviously one that I think a lot of people would name. Like, we've barely seen for 2 years, but there was a time where Darcy Parish was that guy.
The lot was looking like the second best player for a few games.
Reedy was looking like he could have done it. I mean, there was once upon a time where Peter Wright was that guy, maybe even Draper at times potentially. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just an interesting.
Who do you think has a bigger ceiling, Nic Martin or Sam Durham?
There's something about Sam Durham that makes me feel like he has that X factor. Like, Gary Lyon referred to him as the clearance for your life player. Like, it's like you need someone.
Gary Lyon loves him more than we do.
I know, exactly. Gary Lyon is the biggest dad boner for Sam Durham. So
there's a few out there.
But at the same time, it's like, because this is the thing. Like, him and Martin, they're both match winners, but Martin's like. Durham's your match winner in that he could just burst through 3 players and then get it to someone who seals the game, whereas I feel like Martin's someone who might beat a player and then seal it himself. You know what I mean? Does is obviously kick some good goals, but I wouldn't classify him as a finisher. I think he's more someone who assists and setting up the end result, where Martin is a finisher. I guess that's how I see it. So coaches' votes the weekends. Martin got 9, Merritt 7, Durham 5, McGrath got 3. Archie Roberts got 2.
Merritt more than Durham. That interests me.
Got a lot of possessions in the second half.
Clark got 1, and then Broad and Taranto got 2 and 1 for the Tigers.
Imagine if Clark kicked that 4th. That would have
brought the house down.
Imagine if you kicked 4 on debut.
I think that was the moment that the crowd really would have gotten about, because Essendon, I did feel at that point we'd started to get a lead, and I was feeling pretty comfortable at that point. I was like, I feel like we can hold on from here. And if he got that, I think that was enough to get the crowd.
It could have really blown out as well from there. That could have been what got us to a 7 or 8 goal.
Because I think we kicked. What did we kick in the last quarter? We kicked 7 behinds and 2 goals.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
So it really, I know we've all been hanging out for a really big win. And if we'd kicked straight, this could have potentially been, a 40-plus point win. But,
He's playing quite high, though. Is that we haven't really seen too many of our wingers play that high up the ground. I mean, the fact that the very first time we went inside 50, he was full forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, you sort of spoke about it with his running power.
Yeah.
I think that's just what good wingers do. Is
I
think
they're supposed to be there because they should have covered the ground.
Yeah,
I think we're just used to not having.
Because if Dersma doesn't do that, he might be more of a defensive minded.
He's the defensive one, and I think that's why, when they've played Jones has been that guy, but because he probably hasn't got that just absolute elite running, that you get from a, I don't know, who's a really good winger. Langdon can do that.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that Clark's more in that mould from. He's just sort of sitting in that half circle, just going bang.
You'd love to see it. I mean, it made such a difference to have that option in the forward line.
He won both our time trials. He came in and won it straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And then followed up again and won the second one. So he's obviously got the elite running, which is what I assume your wingers should be winning your time trials. I'd say it's probably the consistent across the board, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you'd probably be wanting your wingers maybe like a half-back or an outside mid or something. But yeah, I think wingers generally are where you got your running power.
I just like that, I speak about it on end here, picking players to play a position and having them specialise in it. I feel like he's a genuine winger and he can make it his own.
It was only his second game played for the club on the wing. He only played 1 VFL game on the wing.
Oh, okay.
All of the other games were half back. The only other game that he played was last week in the VFL 2 weeks ago on the wing, and he played two and a half quarters on the wing, and then he went back to half back.
Yep.
So he's never really played a full game in his draft year as a half back as well. So
You're stuck there now.
I hope you like it.
It won't be going bad. We'll get stuck into the bads, boys. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest bad is just two players who we know are very injury prone. going down. Probably a different discussion with both of them because of just where they are in their career. Reedy's just like, this is the best we've got from him so far, and then now he's had a hammy strain. Look, it's a minor one, but that's 3 to 4 weeks always. And then
did they confirm the extent to the injury in Brad's presser today?
It was confirmed, I think, over the weekend, but
they didn't give a timeline though on it.
I think Cal Toomey said 3 to 4, but
okay.
ask Dr. Damo, any hammy strain is a minimum 3 to 4 week. That's just the nature of the beast. And then Kyle Langford,
unless you're Jason Horne-Francis or Patrick Dangerfield, who are potentially playing this week. After doing hammies.
Yeah, or you're Connor Rosie and you go out next week and then you do it real bad. And then that's you done for a while. And then Langer's doing a quad, which is just
annoying.
Really frustrating because look, he hasn't had a great year comparatively to some of the ones he's had prior as our leading goal kicker, and
just back to paper mache Langford.
Yeah, I do wonder how much a role change can affect the impact it has on your body, because when you're playing as a deep forward, you're obviously leading really hard at the footy, leading hard to get back, that sort of thing, but you're probably not involved in too much sort of other general play most of the time. Whereas now he's playing up the ground, we've seen him coming off a wing at times, we've seen him half forward, pushing up, dropping back when we need to. I feel like he's probably running a bit more than he might have been in the previous years. And I do wonder if that has an effect on it. It might not whatsoever. This is just my theory. But yeah, it's a worry because there's a conversation we had a few weeks ago. It's you look at the experienced core of our group, of our list. The only of the senior guys who are reliably fit is Merritt, McGrath, and then probably a Redmond, but touch wood, he's probably the next one who's going to get injured. But Merritt, McGrath are the two ones who are just generally always out there. But all our other senior guys who've played 100, 150 games are just in and out and in and out and in and out. And
the concern for me is when you look at the list in totality, moving forward, that really is what you need to question. And what are we building a list around? And the viability of those players. I mean, you've now got 3 players with significant injuries. So you've got Brian with an ACL, Draper with an Achilles. You've got
Tom Edwards with an ACL.
Tom Edwards with a knee. You've then got Lewis Hayes with a ACL. Knee. These are all injuries.
Harrison Jones.
These are all injuries
Ridley,
that
10-week hamstring.
Very likely to occur again in your career. I mean, ACLs regularly occur for a second time. Not so much with an Achilles, but it's actually the fear of, are you ever going to come back from that? So you've got that, and then you've got players that are doing reoccurring soft tissue injuries like your Ridleys, your Langfords, your Parishes. These are your senior core group of players, and you've got to sit there now and say, well, it's a very risky list build situation now moving forward, relying on these players where, particularly the guys with knees, are they going to come back? You've seen Kitty Coleman this year. He's come back and he's being rested this week for knee soreness. His knee hasn't come back. He hasn't really recovered from his knee surgery. And it's a concern because we really did look like we were starting to shape up a list that was going to set us in the right direction. And you really just hope the consequences of this season aren't going to have ripple effects in the future. And there's no way to determine it, but it's pretty scary at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see, which players they potentially try to move on. Maybe take a hit and we'll pay part of your contract to go somewhere else type scenario. You rule out the leadership group. I think it'd be very unlikely that they're going to move anyone out of that group. But do they look to move Darcy Parish on? I mean, we might see him this weekend. Jordan Ridley, we know how good he can be, but is that a conversation? That I feel like that's a conversation that's going to be had at some point this season. If Rosa and the new guys running that sector are going to be ruthless, do you look at guys and go, look, we know he's a gun when he's fit, but if he's not fit enough, do you try to move someone on?
Do you even get a first rounder for Ridley now? I don't know if you would.
I don't know. Draper, it sounds like I think Cal Toomey put out stuff that they have offered him a contract for 4 years. Whether or not another club comes in and offers a bigger contract, I don't know. Like, offering a ruckman 5 years off an Achilles injury, I think is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
but
4's generous.
But, we know what the market's like at the moment. No word on Brian. Obviously, Tom Edwards is staying, and then Lewis Hayes, I don't think anyone's going to be making a move for. Harrison Jones is re-signed as well. So, it's hard to know. But, yeah, look, these are just the conversations that have to be had. And, yeah, it's just such a bummer because, we are a team who have been beating all the teams below us and losing teams above us. But I was sitting here, being like, a couple of days ago, I was like, I feel pretty good knowing that we are bringing all these kids and we're not falling off. But then suddenly things start to go against you. You lose 2 key defenders in one game. You lose one of your key forwards in one game. And you look at the next month. You look at the next 5 games.
We're genuinely decimated.
But there is a genuine possibility we don't win any of them. Genuine possibility.
I think the next month looks a lot more like the Bulldogs game than it does any of our other wins, unfortunately. And I hate to say that, but, and I know people have been calling to play the kids all year. Well, here it is. You've got to be prepared to cop some beltings, and I think, unfortunately, that's probably going to start Thursday night. Yeah,
I hope everyone's enjoyed their wins that we've had because it might be a lean month.
Very.
Yeah, June's not shaping up to be a good one for the Dons. Mid-season draft, fellas. Unless you have any more big bads you want to talk about from the game, but I feel like we can move on if you're all happy with that. Yes?
Just to mention that we have been applauding the key KPI for Reedy this year, which was not get injured well.
Yeah, he failed.
There it is. I've got big fail written in my notes. Yeah.
Does this, just circling back to this conversation, we've got to have concerns over his body again, right? Just not being up to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got through, 9 games of AFL football and he's broken down again.
9 or 10, yeah. So, who knows? I think...
At least we know he's at the level now.
10 games.
There was obviously that question mark around, is this guy good? Is he worth persisting with? We know now that...
It almost makes it more frustrating, though.
It does make it frustrating.
Because you're holding on to a player that is not... He's not going to consistently give you what you need, and you're going to continue to persist with him, and that's the story at the
probably
moment.
More for him though, like
a lot of
Brad touched on it in his press conference today, like he now knows, he has the belief. It'd be really hard if he had have done something again, and he'd be thinking, and Brad said this, am I at the level, am I good enough, is this worth it?
You got the light at the end of the tunnel, you can see it, right?
Whether he ever becomes consistent, who knows?
Yeah, someone messaged the page about this, and I couldn't think of an example, but they asked the question that, has there ever been a player who's had such a poor run with injuries in their first 4 years and then actually made it and become someone who can play, 15, 20 games reliably every season? And I was like, I couldn't think of one. Like, I know Charlie Curnow had a couple of years, but he'd already played a few years where he played a lot of footy before those 2 years where he basically didn't play at all.
If it's soft tissue, it's unlikely. It's unlikely, and I have concerns over Caldwell as well for that reason. Calder's for the first, very similar to Zach Reid for his first 2 or 3 seasons. GWS, it was like that, and then with us, and now same thing, gone down with a hammy, and you just hope that Rosa has the magical wand of being able to recruit players that aren't injury prone, because we know that Adrian Tedoro had a very good habit of finding ones that are. So
is it nature versus nurture though? Like, is it, you were joking before we started about the hanger and, stepping foot on the hanger. At what point do we start to question, like, the strength and conditioning program, the staff there running that? Or do you think it's just player XYZ has the makeup of a injury prone player and there's nothing you can do about it?
I think a
lot of it is genetics.
Yeah, I think there are some people who are just injury prone. I've also had people say to me that, like, there are some players who just, like, when they leave the club just won't put in the time.
Yeah.
There are those absolute footy obsessed people, like a Zach Merrow, who doesn't get injured very often because they go home and they do their stretching and they do their walks or their jogs or whatever it is that you have to do. Whereas there are just some players who will just, yep, cool, come in, get my rub, do this, and then leave. There is also not a great deal of staff. Someone was saying to me that, like, I think every player gets like 15 minutes a day with a physio.
Yeah, it's not much.
You know, considering the high performance demand, and that's probably one of the reasons why Brad's always harping on about there being more availability. I'm not sure if,
but you're also,
I don't know if the medicos
getting
fall into
paid
the soft
so much
cap,
money. Surely you can just go see your own physio outside of.
What's some do, and that's something. And then, but it's not. That's the onus on the player.
Tax write off as well.
Yeah, but like the club's not going to go, hey, go down to Bob's physio and get a rub. Like, we can't pay. We're not going to give you the money for it. Go do it. Like, that's on the player. And there are some players who put in that time and some won't.
Yeah. And there was the concerning reports in the off season that players that were doing that at the club were getting the piss taken out of them.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't welcome. That wasn't the thing to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that's changed, but the injuries this year, if what you're touching on is somewhat accurate, it hasn't it hasn't changed.
Yeah. But look, but also these things, again, this is stuff that I've spoken to like Damo about, Dr. Damo. Like, this stuff doesn't change overnight. Like, getting in a new high performance person doesn't mean that a player who's had a shit run forever is just going to click.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It takes like years of like good preparation, good strength and conditioning, good flexibility, all of those factors that come into it. Like, if you just go, I've had a hamstring problem, and then you just work super hard to make sure that doesn't fix and don't work on anything else, it's like, now my ankle's sore. Like, there's a reason that like all this sports science stuff just goes deeper and deeper every year. Like, they don't know everything, otherwise they would just stop, and we wouldn't need them, and we'd go do this, and that's it. You're done. Like, yeah, I could go on about this for a while, but Damo's not here. We should call him and go, what's going on? We're
Special
fucked.
segment.
We're fucked. Fellas, mid-season draft, we'll talk about this before we... Actually, let's do the votes. Let's do the votes real quick, and then we'll do to the mid-season draft chat. Maybe we'll do that in part 2. So, Sash Fan Player of the Year Award brought to you by Waxit Car Care. You can find the best car care products at waxit.com.au. You can use the link in the episode description for 10% off, which is a pretty good deal. All right, Sash Fan Player of the Year Award votes. With one vote, Archie Roberts got one vote.
He was great.
2 votes, Angus Clarke, 2 on debut. 3 votes, Zach Merritt, unsurprising. 4 votes, Sam Durham. And 5 votes, winning the Yukon Award, Nic Martins. There you go. Any queries with those fellas?
I think that makes sense. I don't think we mentioned Archie Roberts in the goods, though. So, a very, very good game from him.
Really good.
Yeah.
Putting up genuine Nick Dacos numbers in his... when Nick Dacos was playing at halfback in his second year. It's pretty incredible the year that he's had. I think that's 5+ games in a row where he's had over 25 touches. And what was really impressive about his game over the weekend, he had 6 inside 50s, which
is nice.
Didn't result in
7 turnovers. That's okay.
A huge amount of shots on goal, but I mean, Nate Caddy wasn't really grabbing a whole lot over the weekend. It was one of those
nights.
CADS types of nights.
I don't think we had one hit up to either Peter Wright or Nate Caddy.
No.
Both Peter Wright's goals were in play. One out the ruck off that short throwing.
It was genuine
nice.
kick it long type of night.
And Caddy kicked one net.
We were
the pack
really
as well.
kicking it long.
Yeah.
Over their headlong.
Yeah. Kako resumed the Alwyn Davies senior centre half forward position, and we would just kick it like 3-on-1 to him. Like, and I was sitting being like, I can't tell if this is Kako's the only one who is where he needs to be, and none of the key forwards are there, or if the kick was just bad. But I it might be a little from both columns, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I do have one more bad, and that is the forward line coaching. I know I made a laugh about it at the beginning, but I remember making a comment about it very early into the first quarter, and then Eddie Betts started talking about it, which made me feel quite good about myself. But that was how high our forwards have been playing up the ground recently. And you tend to see, if we win the ball on turnover, a lot of our players look up and they don't know where to go because of how high our forwards are playing. And it is impacting quite a lot of players.
Yep.
In particular, Kako, and I don't believe this forward structure suits any forwards, but in particularly small forwards, and we're not seeing any of our small forwards when the ball is being kicked to a contest, them being positioned for a crumb, which I remember my dad saying it to me over the weekend. He's saying, the issue I have with Kako is that he's never in the right position when their ball is kicked to a forward, which is...
Maybe he's the only one who's in the right position.
But it's a concern to me because he's clearly bereft of confidence, and you can see he hasn't kicked a goal in the last 3 or 4 games. He hasn't had any real impact with score involvements, which is a massive drop-off from the first 4 or 5 games of the season, including that big game that he had in the pre-season against the Dogs where he kicked 4. And his crumbing efforts off ruck taps, off kicking to forwards in those games was elite.
Yep.
And I'm just a bit confused as to where it's all gone. I mean, he's obviously a young player and you've got to give him the credit there, but I don't think the coaches are doing enough to support the forwards in building confidence that way. And again, I mean, I don't think there's enough people actually talking about the system at the moment at the club. There's not enough fingers being pointed at the coaches. And I mean, do any of you have any resemblance or understanding of what our system is? Because I, last year, for the first 17 rounds, had some confidence that we were building toward a system. I could see a relevant system, which was, that front half press, holding the ball in the forward line. And we've gone completely away from that this year. We've completely changed our strategy. And I mean, you can see it's about possessing the ball in the back half, moving the ball strategically. But when that doesn't work and a team plays a high press, man-on-man defensive setup on us, we've got no answers and we're a complete shambles. And I don't believe it's a system that works in this AFL environment. And I just don't understand really what the coaches are doing. I don't think you can blame it on the fact that we have a young list. Yes, I understand when you bring in a whole bunch of new players, it takes them a while to understand a new system, and I'm going to give the coaches a bit of credit for that. But we're not scoring, and yeah, we are defending better this year, but I feel like we've gone so far one way, and we're just out of balance, and I'm trying to understand what we're doing, and I don't really get it.
I think we're not playing as an aggressive style, if you want to use that word, or brand, whatever. So we're not getting opened up as much. Now, obviously, we've had a couple of absolute blowout games. We've just been smacked everywhere because we're not a great team. But yeah, I feel like it's, sort of what you're saying, like it's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like, all right, well, let's have these extra people up, further up the ground, but that just means that we don't have extra support. And I think just after years of Essendon being a side that just leaks scores, that this has been a change they're trying to make, that they're trying to, build from the back, so to speak. But yeah, I think they've just, so far, they're developing a style that is just to, again, not get opened up. We're going to, they always speak about, Barrow speaks about, when we have an inside 50, we want to make sure it's a good one, as opposed to let's just have 10 in a row and nothing comes of it. So it does seem like a lot of the time that they are being a little bit more cautious with their ball movement. They're taking a little bit more time at times. But then we've also seen games where when we've been going helter-skelter that it's worked. Like that first half against North where it was just go at all costs and it looks
Sydney,
good. So it does make me, but I guess that maybe that is a bit more of a coaching thing where it's just like, all right, we're going to go for it this quarter, we're going to go for it this half, as opposed to, all right, now we're not, changing it up. Or it's just that when we play certain opposition, they just don't allow us to do that as well. So, yeah, I see what you're saying, but it does seem to fluctuate so much week into week depending on who we're playing. Yeah,
I found in the Richmond game a lot of the time, and this is obviously comparing to some of the good sides that you watch throughout the weekend as well. But obviously the half-backs want to go quickly, go into the middle of the ground, take that risky kick, give that quick handball. And then you think, and this is watching on TV, mind you, obviously the ground, you can see what's happening across, whereas the TV's only panning sort of in that space. But we take that risky kick and it comes off and we give a quick handball, and then you think, well, we must be out. There must be someone out the back here. You know, Kako must have got out the back. Guelphy will be out the back here. And there's no one there. And I just find it so frustrating that we've taken the risk and bit off the kick. And as I said, watching all these other teams, Geelong, Cameron would be out the back, or Shannon Neal would be out the back, or Stengel would be sitting in the goal square
just
waiting
have one
for
there.
it. But we just don't have anyone. So I'm thinking, well, if we don't have anyone there, why even take the risk of turning the ball over through the middle? I feel like sometimes there's such a disconnection between what the forwards are set up for and what our halfbacks and mids are trying to do, and that's obviously go quickly, but for what reward? You know, people say risk and reward when you play that style of football. Well, if there's no reward, don't take the risk. Play that slower game if that's what we want to do, and not get killed on the turnover. I think if we're going to go quick, you're going to have to at least put someone out the back so that if it does pay off, we actually do get the reward.
I'll make a couple of quick points before we go to a break. One, Shannon Neal's going to kick 10 goals on us when we play along.
Oh, God.
Two, I know you haven't watched it, but Brad made a comment in his presser today. He was saying how with young players, because they haven't been moulded in any way that you can tell them what to do and they'll do it, which me being the pessimist reads him saying that there's a bunch of people on this list who don't do what he says, or haven't in the past. Obviously some no longer at the club or even playing AFL.
But so he's saying
shout out to the ones who are hanging up there.
He says it's easier to tell younger players what to do.
Well, yeah, because they haven't been in a system with another coach who's developed a certain way.
Bad habits.
Yeah.
They don't know any
Old
other way.
new tricks.
Yeah, exactly.
Scenario.
Third and final point before we go to break, and James, you might be able to comment on this. Jesse looks like he's dressed like Ned Flanders in that jumper. it's just come to me now.
Need a bit more mo action.
Yeah, I know. Can you grow a
I
moustache?
think this almost is the full Ned Flanders kit. What
You
pants does he wear? Does he wear the blue pants or does he wear the khaki?
I can't
coloured
remember.
pants.
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up. No, it's pretty close. It's like a grey pants. You're not far.
I'm
You're
pretty Ned
you're
Flanders.
real Ned Flanders tonight.
Unintentional Ned Flanders.
Unintentional
steps.
Ned Flanders. On that note, let's take a break because we're close to running an hour for Seg 1, which is pretty good. So, we'll be back after this. This halftime break is brought to you by the Ticket Merchant for the 2025 AFL season. Whether you're looking for tickets to Essendon matches, you want to catch a concert, comedy show, maybe there's another sporting event that you're interested in. I mean, State of Origin's coming up. They might have some tickets for that. They've got you covered. So head to theticketmerchant.com.au and you can explore their massive range of deals. Back after this. Welcome to part 2. Back here on the Sash, as I remembered that I need to plug in my computer for this segment. Gents, mid-season draft Wednesday night, which is very interesting because, one, we're playing on Thursday, so very quick turnaround. We spoke about how there is a potential, was that off air? I can't remember. But there's a potential, Brad spoke about, that someone may get drafted on Wednesday officially. They might have already been worded up and they might be there with the squad on Thursday night, maybe as an emergency. It'd be absolutely insane if they were starting. But yeah, it's a real
Do
possibility.
you think Will Hall gets drafted?
Maybe.
He looked pretty good over the weekend.
Yeah.
Really good, actually.
Yeah.
And he did train with the team over the preseason, knows the system well enough, and we are lacking a defender. So it'd be interesting to see what they have to go for a key defender in this draft. And do you have any names?
Not for key defenders. Well, that was my question to you guys, was that what's a bigger priority, a key defender or a ruck? Because I think ruck
Both.
has to be the first pick, personally. This thing, they have the potential to take, I think, 4 players. How I would view it is you got to go, all right, we need short term, we need a ruck and a key defender who are ready to go. And then with the other 2 picks, you can probably look at it more of a longer approach. Roles they? I don't know.
I don't know if a ruck is the first that I would pick. And I know that's contentious because Old Gold dominates just about every VFL ruckman. He's a cut above VFL standard. So there's no one really in the VFL that is...
Sadly, he's playing AFL, though. That's the problem.
But you're not going to replace him with a VFL ruckman is my point.
Okay.
And if you are going to replace Old Gold, then surely you just play Vigo. Like, Vigo's playing really well in the VFL. He's averaging like 19, 20 touches and 30, 35 hit-outs at the moment. He's 19 years old. Why not just blood him? He's a future ruckman. He's AFL standard. Like, he's 19 years old and he will be AFL standard. So are you better off just actually blooding Vigo and giving him a tough year? We're not playing finals. So is it better for the list development to have Vigo playing, or are you just going to play like a VFL ruckman who's maybe going to half contests, who really, for the long-term future of your football club, he's not going to stay on your list? And what's he going to offer you? He's not really going to win you games this year, and we're not planning to win finals this year.
He offers you cover, though, as we've learnt this season, that you can go from having too many rucks to having none. So yes, all right, long-term Vigo, all that what you just said, but if we don't pick up a ruckman and Goldie goes down, then it's Vigo, then there's no ruckman in the VFL and there's no one else. So I think you just need coverage more than anything.
Just to interject, didn't say not picking up, just saying not your first pick.
Fair.
I actually said to Rob last week, before I realised that mid-season draft was Wednesday night, that I thought Goldie would have a rest this game, regardless of whether we got someone else. So I thought Vicentini could play this week. I obviously didn't want to play him against Nankervis. Ironically, Nankervis got rested anyway. But I feel like Goldie's red lights must
Goldie
be
could
flashing.
do
Like,
with
he has to have a rest.
Goldie's not making his way up to the Goldie.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yes.
But he might have to.
So
even if he doesn't play.
So Ollie Eastland is the ruck from WA that there's a bit of chat about.
From Westland.
Yeah, Eastland.
Eastland
from Westland. Hopefully he wasn't at Northland on Sunday. I was there.
Really?
I was there.
Were you sprinting?
No way.
Yeah, I was. I mean,
Did you hear the evacuation bells?
Yeah, I was there. So we were. We were at Target, like just buying baby.
I can see you belting.
I was like, I had the pram. I was like, oh, fucking go, you know.
Pick up the pram. Come here, brother.
No. So we're at Target just buying baby stuff, and Sasha was still inside. So I bought lay-by books. I was like, I'll just go sit at the front of this, sit at a cafe, read in the book, and we'll just hang out.
Very wholesome time.
Yeah, wholesome time. Sunday afternoon. There's not much else going on.
Real dad Sunday.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh,
go
geez.
to Northland with the family.
Well, no, Sasha, we had to buy some like kids' clothes, and Sasha wanted something.
Sure.
She was like, I want to get a new jumper from like Uniqlo or whatever. I was like, yeah, whatever, we'll go there. And I'm just sitting there being like, oh, yep, cool. These swans probably starts in about an hour. Yeah, sweet. And then like some people just started running past me, and like my first thought was like, oh,
earthquake.
No, maybe like
tsunami.
Yeah, no. My first thought was literally like, oh, maybe some like shoe stores opening with like some fresh, like there's some fresh sale on. Like it's a shopping center. That was like my immediately first thought. And then someone started yelling, oh my god, someone's got a machete, someone's got a knife, and I was like, oh shit, like kid back in the pram, and started like looking around. And it's funny as a divide.
Was Sasha not with you?
She was in Target.
Ooh.
I'm at the front of Target. She's in Target. And like straight away, like you see the divide of people, the people who just flee and the people who are like, what's like, how can I be involved? What's going on?
Oh, really? Was there a few staunches?
Oh, yeah. People just like want to see what's happening. People just
only in Northland.
Only in Northland.
And they were all wearing Adidas.
So which group did you fit into?
Well, I sort of learned.
I told you had the pram.
I had the pram ready to go. And the kid in one hand, pram in the other. And then like some of the smaller shops were like locking their doors and stuff, and like obviously it's still in Northland. So I'm like, all right, well, I was like inside Target, and they're like the staff were like, oh, we're gonna pull the roller door down. So I was like, all right, well, I just went back into Target.
Yeah, smart.
And then we just hung out there for like an hour while it all
But if it was a zombie apocalypse, would you have preferred the roller doors down, or would you have evacuated?
Well, I was funny. I said to someone, asked one of the staff members at Target, I'm like, oh, so like, is there a back door? Can we just go out the back and go home? And they're like, oh, no, we got to check with management. And I'm just like, fuck off, just let us out.
Fuck management.
But it was funny. I also said to Asher, like, because like when it was done, they opened the roller doors and like the cops like escorted everyone out. I just said to Asher, I'm like, gee, if you ever want to rob Target, that was the time. Just like $105 t-shirts and walk out.
Wow.
Anyway,
You're
that was my
a
Sunday.
survivor.
I'm a survivor.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a survivor. But
Lucky
anyway,
to have you here.
we've digressed from what we're talking about. Let's just do some hot takes. I feel like we're being a bit silly. It's late. It's like 9:30 at night. I'm getting tired. Chuck your headphones on. No more actual chat. I hope the computer's up on your end.
Has there been any actual chat all day?
I don't know.
We're like, we've had like
talking about this game the whole
15 minutes of normal.
Thanks, Rob. It's that time of the week where we get some totally rational and well-adjusted opinions onto the pod. On the Sash, it's Hot Takes. Hot Takes.
That was very good. Thank you, everyone, for seeing them through. Obviously, we can't play them all. Language morning and all that. You guys know the drill. It's not your first time here. I hope it's not your first time here because some of these in-jokes are not going to make any sense whatsoever. All right. Let's start off with a song. This is from Bakes. Thank you, Bakes.
Gentlemen, Alice in Chains seems appropriate. It's only half-time, so I don't know if we're going to win or not, but we look shit!
The halftime song.
Oh. Watch Zach Merritt try. Couldn't move the ball to save our lives. And yet I fight in the comments all alone. No one to cry to, no flag of our own. We need that West Coast guy. We need to draft real high. And yet I find repeating in my head. If we look this bad against fucking Richmond, I'd feel better dead. Oh, go Plains.
Love that was at halftime.
Yeah, halftime entertainment.
Halftime entertainment. Halftime entertainment. I enjoyed the entertainment at Dreamtime. It was really good this year. Speaking of, here we go. Briggs fan. Thank you very much. Briggs fan. Speaking of.
That was the shittest win of all time. We only won that game because we're too cowardly to lose. Richmond dropped Nankervis because they actually wanted to lose that game. It's in their interest to lose that game. It was in our interest to lose that game. But of course, we go out there with Goldstein and Setterfield and players we know are decent against shit sides. What do we learn about Sardis? Nothing. What do we learn about Sard backing it up after a game where we got yelled at by some of our assistant coaches? Nothing. Look, Clark was good. You know, Martin in the middle was good. Durham between middle and forward was good. But far out, can we just accept that we're not there this year and actually lose a game or two against the bottom six sides and give ourselves a better chance? Like, are we going to lose out on another Wardlaw and get a Sardis again? Like, nothing against Sardis, but Jesus Christ. Essendon, be brave enough to fucking lose.
Oh, get ready for Thursday.
God damn it. There was 2 toilet flushes, I think, throughout.
He went back for one more.
I didn't hear a single word he was saying there. I was just hanging out for that toilet flush. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I think like there's a couple of couple of points from this.
We're going to lose plenty of games.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Don't worry.
Brace yourself.
June's looking bleak. It is going to be a bleak thing.
And you know Don's footy throughout June, July and August is typically the worst.
Yeah.
So
and
enjoy it.
It's still a month till July, so we have to. It's going to be pretty grim until then. Like, look, I understand. I understand what this guy's trying to say, but like, you know, we are playing a lot of kids. We've debuted 7 players, and we're going to start losing some games. Like, I don't think we can just throw people to the wolves for the sake of it. But anyway, I thought that one was funny. This is the Buzz Cut Bombers.
Boys, good to get the win after last week, but I do have a bone to pick with our forward line, and especially with Angus Clark coming in this week. There's too many fucking buzz cuts running around. Don't know who's who. Needs to change. We need some new trims going on down there. The Buzz Cut Bombers is not a name I'm rocking with, unfortunately. Go Flames.
Thoughts?
Suggestions on other haircuts would be nice from him. I mean, you can't just throw I hate people that just throw problems out there. Solve the problem for us. If you're going to identify it, solve it for us. So please give your hot take next week and provide a solution.
Who at Essendon would look the best with a mullet? I mean, I'm thinking Angus Clark just because of, you know, he's a country boy. I feel like Perkins wouldn't suit. Hobbs.
Well, Perkins already got one.
He's
got one at the moment.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, and he looks all right.
Yeah,
not bad.
He had the long hair when he started.
Yeah, but that wasn't a mullet.
Do you know who I think would look really fucked? Ridley would look really weird. The buzz cut. He would look weird.
He would not suit a mullet. No. This one is R.I.P. Zach Reid.
Yeah, weird one, boys. I was at the game. We won. I don't know, just a weird feeling. Like, I don't feel good. I don't feel overly bad. Just weird. I don't know. Does anyone else feel like this?
Do you guys feel weird?
Yeah. I mean, as you said, it's been a bit of a story of the year, winning but mourning injuries. And it's tough to... Particularly, there's always such good players that you just are seeing going down after big wins.
Yep.
It's tough to watch.
Let's keep going. Braden from Seymour. Thank you, Braden.
I told you last week, didn't I? I told you we'd come out firing this week, and we will absolutely fuck Richmond. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best fucking we've ever given. Got one of those awkward ones where you finish a bit early and you've got to sort of explain, sorry, it doesn't usually happen this way. I swear I'm really, really good. But we fucked them nonetheless. And to add insult to injury, holy fuck, Angus Clark.
Plenty of F-bombs in that.
Love that.
Which we love. We also love Rory from Scotland. So this is Rory. Thank you very much.
Hey ho, Gus Clark, best player on the park. He downs tequilas, he roots the Sheilas, walking in a Gus Clark wonderland.
Hey, that's what we love.
That.
Bring in some proper...
We need Rory down in the cheer squad because I tell you what, Rory, if you've ever been to an Australian rules football game, the creativity behind the goals is lacking.
It's no Europe.
Lacking.
It's no Europe.
There's only one team that actually does it all right, and it's the Saints. Have you seen the Saints guys?
What is it? The Isle 20-something?
Yeah. They actually have good shit going.
Good on them.
I'd love to create like a firm. Like a Don's firm.
Don's firm.
Like a dark Don's firm. Like find all the real like dark Don supporters and start fights after games. Like flares and shit.
What,
like,
at Northland or?
No, at Etihad. At Etihad.
Just what at the front?
At Etihad. And then we're coming in and we're doing full chants.
Yeah. This episode sponsored by Vic Police. Fuck.
It's always been a dream of mine.
Jesse's old firm. You know, look, just can you dress as Ned Flanders while you do it?
Leo.
All right. This one's from Ben Griffiths. Now, Ben, or Griffiths, if I say that right, Ben bailed me up at the Grey Starling on Smith Street after the game and was like, I sent through a hot take on Instagram. You didn't play it. It's really good. You should play it. And I was like, okay, Ben, I will play it.
He really went out of his way for
He
that
did.
one, didn't he?
I sent this.
He personally
I sent.
found
Oh,
it.
I sent this to you on Saturday. So.
Oh, yeah.
So this is pretty good.
deserves
We've had a version of this before, but this is really good. So I'm going to play it again. So this is Ben Griffith's version of Jesse's Train.
I wish I was on Jesse's train. I'm hopping onto Jesse's train. The planes are not rebuilding again. Why do you get my hopes up like that? Jesse's train. The 30 doesn't have to play again.
Play this week.
He's going to be our
To
fullback.
the final strain. Why do you get my hopes up like that?
Why do you get my hopes like that?
So good. Yeah.
I just love the start. The actual train.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Let's. Let's hope that
Yeah,
YouTube doesn't
the
flag me for
commission is fully ruled out the season with Zach Reed going down and Langford. That was it.
Yeah,
The funding's been pulled.
The conversation for funding was pulled. Not even the actual.
Can't even get a meeting.
Yeah, like they didn't even. The executives didn't even show up. So.
Yeah, I think they dismantled the train line.
Yeah,
to be honest.
they've postponed to 26.
All right, a couple more. This is Matt Shads Daniels.
Hey lads, down the dog park with my dog. Doing this the day after the game. I'll keep it quick. Gus Clark, 3 goals on debut. That'll be another Rising Star nomination for us. So what's that, 3-4 in 1 year? That should be close to a record, I think, in the AFL. You boys need to look into that. Archie Roberts, give that boy the keys to the hangar. He's our future captain when Merritt leaves. I don't care what anybody else says. Archie Roberts is going to be the future captain of the Essendon Football Club. Put your house on it. In terms of the game, a bit sloppy, but we ground through. Looking forward to next week. Go Plains.
Fully back that.
You reckon he'll be captain one
Yeah,
day?
he'll play in the middle. Arch will eventually play in the middle. He's got all the traits of a good defensive mid and a good Essendon mid who loves shanking the ball off the boot.
Yep.
But
Love
doesn't
that.
mind getting his hands dirty.
Nice. Next one. This is a bit of a longer one, but I thought I should play it because the person's got an interesting thing to say. And they were involved on Saturday night, so let's have a listen.
Well, what a game. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of good moments, a lot of bad moments. But my favourite moment is when we won, obviously. But personally, it's me playing a didgeridoo just before the game, lad. Yes, it's me. I'm the performer. Yeah, just by the coin toss. I wasn't on the field performing or anything, but yeah, I was up on the stage performing. But yeah, it's me, man. It's me, guys.
Sick. I love it.
You're going to have to believe this because I guarantee there'll be no one else out there that has the guts to actually announce themselves to something like this. This proves that I'm a fan of you guys. I listen to your podcast. You guys are way brilliant. Keep up the good work, guys. But anyways, on to the game. Angus Clark has shocked me, not going to lie. Kid has some talent. Credit to Scott because he just came back from injury and Scott just took the risk and put him into the side and he dominated. Good on him. But yeah, I don't know what's happened with us, but we're not the same team from a few rounds ago. But hey, we're a young side. Give him some time. And they'll give him another season or so. See what happens.
Very good. How cool.
Yeah, respect.
Up on the stage. Love that.
I will give you a tip.
What? On how to play didgeridoo?
Don't sell yourself so hard because it makes you sound suspiciously not like the didgeridoo guy.
I believed him initially, but then...
You didn't need to clarify that much. I mean, we believed you.
Yeah.
I still believe you.
All right. 2 to go. This is a short one. This is Mars Bar. Thank you, Mars Bar.
chugga, 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 chugga. Woo, woo. Up the fucking plains.
There we go. Now we're going to end on a very really
sound like
weird
a
note.
really old train.
It's a very old train.
Tired train.
It's Puffing Billy. Now we don't know where Dear Lurk has gone, but
he's ducked out for a bit.
But in his absence, Lurker's hostage is back for the second week in a row.
Got a hold of the phone again.
And I'll just say, listeners, this is pretty bizarre.
Yeah, turn off if you don't want to hear graphic content.
Yeah.
I am Lurker's hostage. It's day 732. Lurker had my hot take. He wasn't happy. I was tortured again. This time with sounds of Scott Gumbleton's hamstrings and Adoro draft recaps. No upside. But Lurker is out again at Urban Surf Tullamarine. So this is my latest message to you. Don's delight and disappoint. Langford fucked, forgotten. Roberts rough and ready. Richmond just rotten.
Oh my god, that's actually dark. It's really dark.
You can get him in your old firm, I reckon.
Oh my god.
Jesse's firm.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's terrifying stuff.
That is terrifying.
He does a
stuff.
pretty good Lurker impression though. Like, it's definitely not
Mate,
Lurker.
he's been with him for 732 days. I reckon he knows him.
Yeah.
He's just slowly Shawshanking his way out, one little brick at a time before he gets out of there. Oh my god! Wow, what a very silly episode, gents. That was fun.
It was.
That was a bunch of fun.
Needed it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate your support as always. Hope you enjoyed the win. Very tough month ahead. Game on Thursday, as we know. Hopefully it's not a dark night. Pod Wednesday night, Ryan and I'll be doing the match preview, but by the time we do it, I think the mid-season draft will have happened, so we'll do a bit of a recap on that. For the premium listeners, $5 a month if you're going to be a premium listener, you get an ad-free show, you get an extra show every single week, and you get access to the Discord, which is always pretty fun. And then Friday afternoon, we're doing a review pod back here, so 3 pods in a week for me. Are you on Friday? Are you coming in?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, sick. I think Joel will be there as well. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate your support as always. Go Dons.
Go Dons.
Go Plains.